If I had one word to describe Stephen King, the very individual that lied about Charlie Kirk openly on social media that was forced to apologize is, well, insufferable. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And look, we all know that Stephen King is and always will be insufferable. I mean, this was pretty much a given ever since Trump came into office back in 2016 and again in 2024, leading into 25 this year. We know that there's a lot of things going on right now when it comes down to Stephen King and exactly how he's been acting ever since he got fired from various studios for making appearances or cameos in film adaptations of his books, and on top of that, books have been actually removed from specific store shelves in specific chains, and that was all a result of how much backlash he received over lying about Charlie Kirk, to the point that it was all over in the mainstream media and social media. He got a lot of flack. Now, one thing about all of this is that Stephen King is showing no sign of stopping or taking a step back from really getting very much overly political. He's always been that way for a very long time as far as I can remember. But one thing about Stephen King right now is that he's going on the constant anti-Trump campaign and also mocking Charlie Kirk and his supporters yet again. I mean, this man never learns from his mistakes, never gets the memo, never really gets the message that what he did was pretty much irredeemable at this point. Now, one thing is for certain is that we all know that Stephen King is going to continue to do this for as long as possible until the midterms in 2026. Now, with the entire film and music industry continuing to politicize what happened to Charlie Kirk on September 10th, one significant development going on now involves more to do with Stephen King, who once again went on an in-depth rant about his issues with Charlie Kirk, Trump, and MAGA Republicans after not only getting fired from making cameos and adaptations of his books, but also from books getting removed off store shelves after lying about Charlie Kirk some time ago. Now, King delivered the following. The problem that we have right now with our country is that we are dealing with a rise in racism, and this is not just an issue created by Donald Trump, but with all due respect to Charlie Kirk, who lost his life, he too played a role in promoting racism and misogyny in our country. I never agree with his worldviews at all. I never did, and I never will, and it put us in a very bad situation as a nation. We have way too many uneducated fools that shouldn't even call themselves American citizens for supporting President Trump and supporting Charlie Kirk's views in the past. And again, what happened to Charlie should have never happened. But just look at how the MAGA cult attacked me for making a simple mistake that was actually written as a lie, coming from me to throw me into the cancel culture group. It's disgusting behavior coming from the president and from his actual supporters. And now we have Trump, who is seeking a third term of all things as president. Just watch closely at what he is doing. It is now more obvious than ever that Trump took advantage over what happened to Charlie Kirk to advance his political status, to going around the laws and changing the laws to becoming president again in 2028. This is a man that never wants to leave the White House because he knows once he gets out of the White House, he is going to jail for his convictions and his crimes. It's no surprise that Charlie Kirk supporters are entertaining the plan for Trump's third term. They are fully on board with that, and that's exactly the example I'm trying to prove here about everything wrong with MAGA Republicans. They are nothing more than a cult who are obsessed with cancel culture and watching others fail. Now guys, let me just stop right there for one moment about Stephen King. We all know that Stephen King is going to absolutely just continue to go on these out-of-place rants that make no sense at all whatsoever, and to hear Stephen King saying that basically what he did was a simple mistake. No, we all know that Stephen King knew exactly what he was doing when he was lying about Charlie Kirk openly on X/Twitter. It wasn't until he got a lot of backlash, and I mean a lot of backlash, to the point that even long, loyal fans threw their books in the garbage and actually set them on fire and never wanted to see them again. And only then, basically, Stephen King was able to actually say, alright, I apologize for making that statement that I said about Charlie Kirk on X, yada yada yada, and we all knew that he was forced to do that. Now, what's interesting here, though, is that now, after the whole Trump third term comments, which, by the way, he's not really seeking a third term, let's be very real about that, Trump made it very clear that he's not seeking that, but he did mention something to do with the laws or something around those lines. It has nothing to do with that, but we know that Stephen King, Jimmy Kimmel, and many other celebrities are taking so many things out of context here, and this is exactly what it comes to right now, where Stephen King continues, "Just look at what they did to me," he says, "and what they tried to do to Jimmy Kimmel and even Jimmy Fallon. It's disgraceful, and I'm repulsed as an American to see what our country is turning into. It's safe to say right now that I advise that if you can afford it, to make the move out of this country to move to another, and forget this place, because this is not the America that I remember under President Biden. It's just nothing close to the freedom that we once had under his presidency. To see so many MAGA Republicans taking advantage of Charlie Kirk's death to blame liberals and Democrats is atrocious behavior, and they should be ashamed of themselves." So there we have it again. Before I move on here, Stephen King going on that constant trope that freedom of speech is dead, that the whole, idea of America being a free country is gone, yet at the same exact time, he's saying what he has to say. People like Robert De Niro and Jane Fonda, they're saying what they have to say. I think that they get confused quite often with the fact that, yes, freedom of speech does exist, but they feel it doesn't exist because, well, there's no such thing as freedom of consequence. And they're getting that all mixed up. Fans are walking away, people are seeing through their mask that they put on day in and day out, seeing basically who they really are. Beyond their acting career or beyond their writing careers out there, if they're an author, for example, or a script writer. And he goes on to conclude, "Never would I have thought that this day," he says, "would come where we are living in a country where freedom of speech is dead. It's beyond depressing to see what happened to America and, of course, to its citizens who have been brainwashed." So, look, when you're looking at someone like Stephen King, just taking a glance at this guy, we all know that he's not really there. I mean, he's always been quite crazy when it comes to his political views, when it comes to his overall stance on politics. Very unhinged behavior, really not acting civil in any way, shape, or form ever. And it really is getting worse every single year that goes on. And I only can imagine what's going to happen in 2026 to a lot of these celebrities, no matter what the outcome may be. And after the midterms, I think that you're going to see more of these celebrities acting more unhinged if things do not work out well in their favor. Most certainly, I think that's just guaranteed. I think it's just a given. So be prepared for that. But what's interesting, again, is that you have Stephen King playing the victim card again. Blaming MAGA Republicans, quote unquote, for throwing him into the cancel culture group, to those that got canceled. And look, nobody is showing any remorse for Stephen King because we all know that what he said about Charlie Kirk, let's be very clear, it was not a mistake. It was basically painted as a mistake by Stephen King because he actually was forced to apologize. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. Anything ranging from Stephen King to the whole Trump third term comments, which were taken out of context, obviously. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.